Well, welcome to another weird edition of riding shotgun with Tupper. Weird because we got too much snow down in the back to get the truck back down there. Colder than hell today, so we're in the car, and I can't film in the car when I'm driving because God knows I'd be in the electric chair by the morning. So my wife has kindly agreed to drive while I film and hold this thing in some manner that'll jiggle around too much, and I apologize for that. But we're out and about on Tuesday, the day after the Illinois-Nebraska game. Oh my. They really are challenging us as loyal observers. And, I kind of felt better about things last night. I certainly did in that game than I did the Iowa game, because there was a point in the game, and you know the point I'm talking about, where you had to, Illinois had a hard time getting over the hump in these games. So here's the hump. Now you're at the hump part. And that's when I tweeted, screw it, give it to Finke for the 3 and win the game with Finke in the 3. And lo and behold, that's what happened. Finke hit a 3. He got fouled. He made the free throw, put Illinois up by 2. That was getting them over the hump. Those are the plays that they haven't made. Finke has shown no inclination to make that kind of a play. I give him a lot of credit for the way he responded in the second half. He was active. He was rebounding the ball. He was brave with his shooting. He didn't play scared. And he made a big difference. He scored 15 of his 16 in the second half. Really, he gave him a chance, and he got them over the hump. It's just that there was still 8 seconds left, and Nebraska just wiggled the ball up the floor with Glenn Watson and threw it to Patterson. And I'll tell you what, it reminded me, after he made that shot, it reminded me of, you've seen the Bud Light commercials where the guy with the dilly, and then the guy says, Brad over there will now take you on a personal tour of the pit of misery. And I thought, well, you know who Brad is? That's Brad Underwood. He's going to take that guy on a tour of the pit of misery. And instead, the rest of us went to the pit of misery because the guy made that shot, 3-pointer, and Nebraska won. But, once again, Trent Frazier made plays. I think LaRon is making plays and is going to make more as he starts to feel better as he comes back from the flu. And then last night, Finke all of a sudden was involved offensively. One of their problems is they don't have enough people involved offensively. They need to get Mark Smith involved offensively. And as he gets healthier here, maybe he can trend that direction. They need to get DeMonte more involved offensively. I just don't think he's a confident jump shooter right now. Mark Allstork has not been an offensive guy. And Aaron Jordan, with the exception of the Iowa game, has not been either. So, you're getting your offense from Finke and from Black and from Frazier and from Kipper and maybe a little bit from Ebo. And, we'll see. It was a crazy game. They shot the 3 so poorly, 3 of 18, and that's become a kind of a thing on the road. I mean, they shot the ball so well from 3 at home the other night against Iowa, and then they missed all those last night. Plus, they missed free throws last night. In a 1-point game, you can't look back and see, I don't know what they missed, 6 free throws. And then can't be a team in the country that misses more layups than they do. I mean, Kipper, why does a layup have to be such an adventure? Just jump up in the air and stick your hand in the hole. It's called a dunk. Ugh. That's annoying. And then they had some mistakes. The 2 turnovers by DeMonte Williams were painful. And they're so contrary to who he is. He's just a guy that plays calm and with some poise and doesn't make panicky mistakes, except at those late moments like he did in the Maryland game, when he threw the ball. What the heck was that? And last night, he got that rebound, and that was good, and they turned around and just chucked it out of bounds. Those plays, just any one of those plays, and they might be able to win the game, but those things. So anyhow, they still have a lot of mistakes to eliminate. There's no question about that. Here's the question I have. What is the effect of Tejon Lucas being suspended for 2 games? And if he's suspended a third game, I mean, there's some violations that carry with it a minimum a 3-game suspension. And if he's suspended a third game, I think we'll all probably have a feeling what that is. But when you're on a basketball team that's struggling with a first-year coach, everybody's trying to make an impression. You understand what's going on with the fans. They're looking for a better product, looking for hope. And now the season begins, and in Big Ten play, you've really had a rough time because of all these close games you've lost. You've lost 3 overtime Big Ten games. Last night, a 1-point Big Ten game. The Minnesota game is a 2-possession game. The Iowa game is, I don't even like to think about it. But so it should be, you'd want the players to be all hands on deck, pulling in the same direction. This is the most important thing in our athletic lives right now. And you've got one guy that does something that's, quite frankly, I'm calling it selfish. It gets himself suspended, and then it happens at a time when the rest of the team's wrestling with the flu. So you're not only shorthanded from the flu, which zaps people's energy and strengths and ability to play and practice, but now you do this thing, and you're already playing with 2 less scholarship players than his maximum. If I'm on that team and a guy does that, I'm pissed. I don't appreciate it. You're not pulling as hard as I'm pulling. This isn't as important to you as it is to me. And the downside of it is, okay, so Illinois is without Tejon for 3 games or 2 games or 100 games, whatever the penalty ends up being. But the upside could be, you know what? There's one more guy that isn't pulling in our direction, and I think there's a chance it tightens up the chemistry on this team. I liked the way they fought the other night at Nebraska. Didn't like the way they executed all the time. I understand, but those are different matters. I maintain that when they confronted the hump, they got over the hump the other night. There was just Nebraska responded with that 8-second thing, whatever. So I don't know. They go to Wisconsin Friday night at 8 o'clock, and by the way, that sucks too, because this Big Ten schedule is bad. It's gotten bad in football. It's gotten bad in basketball. Monday night, Friday night. I talked to a guy the other day. He wants to take his kid to a game. His kid can go to a game on Saturday. He's not in school. Well, there's no Saturday games. No Saturday games. You want to go on a Friday night? Want to go on a Sunday? Look, I realize that the network is printing money for everybody, and I guess that's important. But man, oh man, it's made it inconvenient for fans, and I think Friday night up at Wisconsin is weird, for a game. So anyhow, they play up there Friday. Wisconsin plays Purdue tonight. Purdue's ranked 3rd in the country. If Wisconsin loses that game, which I assume they will come in on a 3-game losing streak. Both those teams have had more than their share of struggles. It is at Wisconsin. I assume Wisconsin plays better at the Kohl Center than they do bouncing around the rest of the country, but we'll see what they can do. That performance last night, and we got to find out too whether does this mean anything for Michael Finke? Was this one thing now? We're not going to see this again for a month. I would hope that Michael Finke could get some confidence from it and remind himself that, I can do some of this stuff. There was a number of people commenting on Twitter last night, Michael Finke can't shoot the ball. That's not it, and there's a distinction. I understand what you're saying. He hadn't been making shots, hadn't made a 3 in Big Ten play until last night. Michael Finke can shoot the ball. What Michael Finke can't do, what Aaron Jordan can't do, what some of the people that are on this team and have been typical of this roster for the last few years is they can't always get shots. And you know, when you think about Michael needs a little bit of room, he needs a little bit of time, and he needs a little bit of balance. And unfortunately, in Big Ten play, you don't always get all three of those things. And, you know, you look at somebody like Steph Curry, he doesn't need any time. He just goes up and launches. And he doesn't need any space. He'll shoot it right in your face. And he can hit off-balance shots. Trent Frazier hit an off-balance shot, that three, to put the game in overtime against Iowa. But for Michael Finke and Aaron Jordan, in order for them to feel comfortable, they need all three of those things in play. I thought in the second half, Michael pushed himself outside his comfort zone and made some shots that didn't match up with the comfort level he would ideally like to have. And, you know, ideally, you don't get ideally. So even the three that tied the game, or that put them ahead in the game, was rushed a little bit for him, and good for him. Maybe it shows him, you know, I can make some of these shots that are a little more difficult and a little less comfortable than I'm used to, because they need another offensive weapon. So I don't know. Let's see what we get on Friday night, and maybe they can go up to Wisconsin and win up there. Wisconsin's kind of dominated them an awful lot lately, and this is a different Wisconsin team, no doubt about that. So anyhow, thanks for riding along. Thanks for driving, sweetie.
You're welcome.
and we will talk to you next week, and maybe we'll get some of this snow out of here. It's supposed to warm up over the weekend. All right, everybody. Thanks a bunch. Talk to you later. Bye.